to my we chat with Brie from Simple Life Social. So over the last couple of weeks, I've been sharing my amazing my tribe. I talk about building a team, and often in small business, we think that we have to build a team of employees. But in 2021, it's really cool, actually. We don't have to build just a team of employees, although if that's your choice, you totally can. But we can also build a team of outside advisors or outside contractors or outside support people. And Brie, we spoke briefly about Brie yesterday when we were talking with Dre about building ads, and this is the foundation for doing ads. Like the rules, Sarah Greener's rules are you're not allowed to spend any money on Facebook ads and Instagram ads until you've done this work here that we're going to talk about here with Brie today. So Brie, I've been working with for a couple of years. She is the master behind The Rock and Sarah Greener's social media. Sorry, someone just wanted to jump in the room, so I'll let them in. So I'm going to let Brie introduce herself a bit, tell her how she jumped in and got into social content, where she comes from, and then we're going to jump in and have a bit of chat about how we do this without it taking up our whole lives, because I think that's probably, I know that was my biggest hate about it. It just took so much time to be everywhere the marketers told me I needed to be. So let's have a chat about that.
Well, kia ora, everybody. My name is Brie, and I run Simple Life Social. And to be honest, I never, ever would have thought that I would have a marketing business. That's not where I started at all. I actually studied at Laidlaw College in Auckland to become a pastor of all things. And social media was not even on my radar. But when I finished my degree and moved back to Canada, I started working in the family business. I became a associate director. So I started to see where all of the resources were going for the business and realized that we were spending, thousands of dollars to a marketing agency, and we weren't getting any return for it. I didn't really understand what they were doing. And after a few meetings, I really felt that they were just exploiting our lack of understanding of marketing. Now, obviously, this is not the case for every marketing agency. That was, my scenario, I guess. So my biggest decision when I first stepped into that role was to get rid of the marketing agency and take on digital marketing myself. So over the next few years, we grew a lot through social media marketing, in particular, email marketing. And I started to speak nationally at conferences to other business owners and people within our industry as to how we had done it and the success that we had seen. And then people started to ask, oh, can you just do my marketing for me? Can you just do our social media? And I started to realize that maybe there's actually an opportunity for me to create my own business and something that I've become passionate in, and also live wherever I want in the world. My husband is a Kiwi, and I've always loved New Zealand. And so we decided within 6 months that we were going to move to New Zealand, sell our house, move to New Zealand, and I was going to start this business. And I think the biggest thing for Simple Life Social is, even in the name Simple Life, when I was trying to teach myself marketing, I went onto Pinterest and I read every blog you could. I did every social media course you could online, and it was like swimming through mud. Like, it was so hard to understand. And if you've ever cried over a Facebook ad or trying to understand how to do it, Instagram reel, I have been there. Like, I get how difficult it can be. And I really wanted to simplify marketing for business owners so that they never felt stupid or exploited just because they didn't understand something about marketing. And that's kind of the basis of where Simple Life Social came from. And now I've been running it for a few years, and I've really niched towards the tourism industry because I just love that industry. And I feel that, like out of every industry, they need a lot of help and support right now. So that's sort of where I'm putting a lot of my energy and free content towards. But I do social media marketing for clients. So I create all the posts and things on their behalf, like I do for Sarah and The Rock as well.
Awesome. Cheers, Brie. So I love that you talk about that story where you were kind of like, hang on, you guys are taking the mickey. You're taking all my money and we're not getting good return on investments. Because I talk a lot about that. And I really talk a lot about the fact that digital agencies sell that they can do everything really well. So they're going to take on
Yes.
your whole digital experience. They're going to do a really good job from all aspects. And I really don't advocate that with my clients. I say, like I talked to Dre yesterday about specifically about Facebook ads because the man spent millions of dollars of his money and other people's money, as well as his time learning Facebook ads and understanding them really deeply. And you're the same when it comes to content. We were just having a conversation before this call, and you've been researching the trends in terms of tourism and how that needs to show up in our socials. So you're really drilled into how this works and doing a really good job of it. So
yeah, I would agree. Like when I first started 4 years ago, I thought in order to be successful, I had to be the one-stop shop.
yeah.
And especially as like a solopreneur, like you just get spread way too thin. And you're not the expert in anything because you don't have time to really do the research for one specific area. You're trying to keep up on the trends of everything and kind of doing a mediocre job of everything. Like I remember trying to create a Squarespace website for somebody, and it was a disaster. And they didn't pay me, and too right, because it was a shit show. Like it was not good. And after that experience, I was kind of like, I need to stick to what I do really well and what I'm seeing that I get results in, and also what lights me up. Like I'm a weirdo that enjoys social media, or aspects of creating content. I think more so what I enjoy. And so I finally niched down to just doing social media. I even tried to keep doing like Facebook ads and organic, but realized, you know what, I'm not the expert in Facebook ads either. And so then I just continued to niche down and really do what I love and what I get results with, which is organic social media.
Awesome. So let's talk a bit about what you mean by organic social media, because I think there's lots of noise in the space about, spending money on Facebook ads and getting good conversions and what's the reach and what's the engagement and how many likes am I getting, which Facebook will let you pay for all of those things. But what do you do? Because you're not spending money, you're spending time, effort, and energy.
Yes.
Doing what you do.
That's right. So the definition that I've, kind of come up with over the years of social media is deepening relationships in a visual way. So social media is literally about taking the experience we have of meeting people, having conversations, finding similarities in real life and putting it online. That's, when you look at social media in the positive way, that is what it is. And so with organic social media, the goal is really to develop an emotional connection with somebody because, let's face it, people can buy your product or service from 100 other businesses. They choose to buy from you because there's an emotional connection for some reason there. And so our job on social media is to create this emotional connection that forms the trust and allows them to work with you. So sometimes what people think of is if I post on social media, it will get me to sales. And that they see this little short link, post on social media, sales. And when they don't get sales from posting on social media, they say it doesn't work. But you have to look at marketing in terms of a funnel, and social media is one of these top level things where it's brand awareness and it's building trust, and with the opportunity to bring people further down the funnel into some of your other marketing activities. So it is very typical that you won't necessarily see sales directly from social media. You have to give other opportunities for people to interact with you deeper. So whether that be, a webinar or a downloadable or something else, so that they can take that next step and that and eventually end up in sales.
Awesome. So I think because we some of these people were on the live yesterday and we talked about ads and we said no likes, reach, engagement, brand awareness, spend. Like that's not what you're trying to achieve to begin with. Maybe if you're
Yeah.
really, really new on it, that comes from what Bree's talking about. So from
Yes.
posting regularly, consistent content. And I think that's really important. I think people look at, and we get this quite a bit with The Rock and the work that you do with The Rock, right? Like it's not been Brie started and 2 weeks later, the tours were booking in. Like The Rock's been posting on Facebook since Facebook was a thing for business, like over a decade, which makes me really old. But like we've literally been doing it. Like we came back from Thailand. We were already on Facebook when we came back from Thailand because we knew lots of international people. Someone said to us, you got to put your business on it. And so we did what we were told. And we've been posting on that page ever since pages were a thing. We've been advertising on Facebook ever since it was a thing. You can't compare our 10-year-long journey with Facebook with some people that have just popped up and started posting today. You've got to consistently do it, consistently build relationships. And it's really important. And that emotional engagement, because it always cracks me up what connects with people when we're doing stuff on Facebook. I've been nagging Johnny to do stories on the Rock page for yonks. I know, but I'm not very consistent with it with Sarah Greener either. I have good days and bad days of doing it. So I can't give him too much of a hard time. But he says, I'm not very good with it. But every time he posts, for him talking about behind the scenes, like under the dirty bottom of the boat before it got cleaned, it goes off. Like everybody watches it. And that's that. How do I get to know the person behind the scenes? Because I do business with Brie. I don't do business with Simple Life Social, the brand.
Yeah, that's right. So how do we create this emotional connection? Well, you're not going to like the answer, but you have to get your face on there. Because it's not like in real life, you walk around with a poster or like, a poster of, Simple Life Social. And when you're talking to somebody, you talk through behind this page. We all know what you look like. It's not a secret. When I first started to get on there and I realized, okay, I've got to do video. I was like, oh my gosh, everybody's going to know I'm a big girl. Everybody is going to know I'm plus size, and then it was like, everybody already knows, like, it's not a secret. And then once I started to realize that, because we always want to make sure that we have our makeup on and our hair done and the lighting is just right. But people actually connect more so when I don't have my makeup on, I do a lot of stories when I'm making dinner. So I prop the camera up on the cupboard and sort of talk to it then. And people just connect with people. So unfortunately, we have to get our face on there. And so doing stories is a really great way to do connection, because stories are sort of this place where people are looking for just the authentic you. What are you up to today? What is the tip you have for me today? What's the thought that went through your mind in the shower? That kind of stuff, just this real off the cuff kind of post. And so you actually can get a lot of, if you start to post consistently in your stories, you really do start to get a lot of engagement, which draws people to see your posts more in the feed, and things like that. Also, reels are a great way of sort of showing your personality, and having fun doing it. But any place that you can just show up, talk with your ums and your ahs and your pauses and your kids coming in and you telling them to go back away, anything like that just shows that you're human, and that's what people connect with.
Because that happens to them too, right? Like there's no, like I think that's been a really big one for me. It took a long time for me to shift, because I think the thing that people see now is I show up a lot on video and I show up a lot with my face in my posts, but that hasn't always been the journey for me. I've been the same as other people where I don't like it. I would get started, I get some traction, and then I get some nasty comments or some weird messages. Don't know what it is about men that think it's okay to send you messages just because you're posting content. But I think that go back and scroll back. This is what I always say to people, go back and scroll back to Bree's first videos and to my first videos and have a look.
Yeah.
Like we all started somewhere, and comparing, and I say this over and over again in lots of contexts, comparing your first chapter or your third chapter with Bree's 21st chapter or my 21st chapter is crazy. Just be better than yesterday. And for some of you, that's just about being consistent and showing up. So let's talk a little. So we know that that's what we're trying to achieve. That's the strategy behind it, is kind of, hey, I'm the person behind this business.
Yeah.
The reason that I am always talking about social media with my clients is often because they're going, oh, there's so much to do. Like it takes up so much time. You got to take the photos, and then you got to put the videos together, and then you got to write some content. And, like if I do that on every platform I'm on, it's going to take me 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
And, I'm not about that. Like 2 hours a day is not what I'm going to be spending on social.
Yes. So there's definitely some ways of getting around that. So what we do with Sarah a lot is she'll do a live video in like the Human Centered Business Facebook group. I can go in there and download that video, and then I can make smaller video clips of things that she said. I can create content from it, so captions from it. So usually what happens is I will download the video, I'll listen to it and make notes, and then from those notes and those general ideas, I'll probably create like 5 captions, just saying those 5 ideas in different ways, because just the way that the algorithm works, even if you were to post every single day, we probably won't see every single post. And also, we're getting so much information bombarding our brain that even if we did see your post today, we might not have read it, or we might have read a sentence, or it didn't quite sink in. So even if you're saying the same things repetitively, that's totally fine. And social media, I actually encourage a lot of repetition in the ideas, just saying things, the same things in different ways, in different mediums, consistently over and over and over again. And then people will finally be like, oh, I think Sarah's a business coach, or I think she does something about being busy, right? So no, you're not having to go from scratch every time you sit down to create a post. You could even list, 10 ideas. Okay, these are really core ideas that I focus on about my products or services. Maybe it's quality or sustainable or whatever. And then every time you sit down, you could say, okay, what are 3 things I could say about sustainability? What are 3 things I could say about the quality of our product or service? And then you just consistently repurpose those messages over and over and over again.
Yeah, I think this one's really important. I feel like a polyglot cracker so often, like I'm just saying the same thing over and over again. To me, it feels like I am like a stark record about the things I'm saying, but it doesn't come across like that to everyone else, because you're living it, you're breathing it, you're doing it all the time. The people that are engaging with you, potentially if you're drawing a bigger and bigger audience, which if you are consistent with this stuff, you will, it's not going to go from 10 people to 10,000 people overnight, but over time it will, I think The Rock gains about 1,000 followers over a year.
Yeah.
And it loses probably 200 to 300 as well. So
yeah.
Sarah Green is much, much slower, much, much noisier space. And once people are engaged with me, they don't tend to stay around on my social pages that in my coaching worlds. Whereas Rock people, once they've been on board, they stay engaged for a long time after. It's a really good memory for them. So we feel like stuck records. That's not what you guys see outside of it. So just remember that and saying the same thing over and over again is okay. You don't have to come up with the new stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Like right now, my biggest push in my business is teaching people how to create online experiences. Literally every single post I make is about online experiences. And I probably post maybe 5 to 7 times a week. So almost every day. And every single day I'm talking about online experiences, because it's just what I'm trying to promote at the moment. So, don't feel, one of the biggest things that I get people saying is that, oh, people are going to get so annoyed if I post, every day. Like that might not be realistic for you to post every day. So don't feel like I'm saying you have to do that. But just sometimes people will be like, if I post, then people are going to get annoyed with me. But the truth is that people are not seeing your posts every day, even if you are posting every day. And even if they do, it's not like they're actively reading it and like, super engaged. They're just like, oh, she made a post. Next thing, and then they might every once in a while be like, oh, that interests me, so I'm going to read a little further. So it's very hard to post too much on social media.
Yeah,
so
I think
that's
really
not
good
something to worry
advice.
about.
Yeah, so just pick a rhythm for you and get started and make it consistent. So if you think you can consistently do one Facebook post or one Instagram or one whatever, wherever your posts are. Some of you might be TikTok, some of you might be LinkedIn's your place. Can't even think of all the names of there's so many of them, but pick what yours is and decide when you're going to post, and then be consistent. And if you can manage one a week, then I would dial it up to 2 a week. And then when you can manage that, dial it up. I think we started with The Rock. It was literally just once a week that we used to post, and that's got more and more and more over time. So one of the things that I talk a lot about is batching content. So when you get up in the morning, so all my content and all the Rocks content, you're not jumping into each one of our platforms. So I think in the Rock and Sarah Green, we're posting on 4 platforms, both of them.
I think so, like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn with you, and Google Business.
Yeah.
But like I used to batch 6 months of content at once, where I would create, 60 pieces of content, and then we would just schedule those over and over, basically. Recently, we've just stopped that because we wanted to add more variety. What I was doing was creating just one image, and we wanted to create more variety in our posts, and specifically with reels as well. So now I'm batching about a month or 2 worth of content, and then I'll schedule it all out. And it makes it like so easy when you have a template. I might just hop into Canva now, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it. So while you're jumping into Canva, that when we talk about batching, this is about sitting down and going, I'm going to spend a day, right? You won't even spend a day, a couple of hours literally creating the content for the next X period of time, and scheduling it out in some sort of software. That all of the social platforms offer the ability to schedule in software. There's some conversation around that gets better reach. I've not seen any concrete evidence that that's the case. And for me, it's about the time saved. So we use a scheduler, even from Canva. You can schedule direct from Canva now, which is awesome. Yeah. So I'll let you talk a little bit about this, but a scheduling software of some sort is super useful. We bought Publer last year during COVID. And the reason we bought it was because it was a one-time purchase for a lifetime access. I think we paid $100. We'll never have to pay for that scheduling tool again. Now, there's a potential that it might turn crap, but for $100, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and so far it's working really well. The one that I use for my other clients is Later, literally the word later, and that's really well. But Publer works really well. Like there's hundreds of scheduling. But I think I've heard that argument as well, that it gets less reach, but you have to say, okay, what's worth more, my reach or my sanity? Sometimes you just feel like it's not actually, like, my success is not based on getting the biggest amount of reach or something on these social platforms. Okay. So one thing that I wanted to show you here is if you come into Canva and you search for post set, it's going to show you templates that have more than one, more than one graphic within the same aesthetic. And you can customize this, of course, you can customize this with your own fonts and graphics, but now you've got 5 pieces of content that are already sort of within this same aesthetic, and you can just change it out. You could be like, so this looks like a quote type. You could go onto Pinterest. You could say women empowerment quotes or something, find 5 quotes that you like. Bam, you've got 5 posts done, right? And the same thing with these. So this is a really easy way to batch your content, and you just stick to these templates, and it makes your brand look very cohesive, so that whenever somebody sees one of these posts on social media, they'll begin to recognize your brand. Oh, that's a post from whomever. So that's a really easy way to batch content. Now, the one thing that I also wanted to show you with Reels, so we've started doing Reels for Sarah. And so Sarah does batch some of her reels, and I will explain how to do that in a second, so that, again, we can get that face-to-face. But I can also create these word ones for her, so that we're getting more reels posted throughout the week, but she doesn't have to do as much work herself. So I come in here, I typed on post set, but it was Instagram stories set. I found this template already done. I just put in her fonts and colors. And now what we can do is we put sort of these 2 things. This was three steps to success. This was the reel. And then I did self-awareness, reflect, and small actions. Again, this came from watching the Facebook Live that she did. So then this is a way that I took the points that she made in that Facebook Live and now turned it into a reel, as well as 5 other posts, right? So in Canva, you can click on this. We can choose what animation we want it to have. We can come over here and choose an audio. So we don't even have to worry about choosing an audio through Reels. We can just find one that sort of fits the mood that we're trying to get. And we download it as an MP4. And now we can upload that as a reel. And so what I do is I'll usually come in here, and I could create 10 of these at once, and I've got 10 reels just by changing out, the fonts and the text and the pictures. And then Sarah batches her reels, and now we've got, 20 reels for the entire month. So that's kind of how we do that.
Which is awesome. I think the other thing, and people be looking there going, oh, but Sarah, you've got photos. You've got lots of photos of you. I didn't used to. And I used to think that getting photos of me required my hair being done and my makeup being done and a professional photographer. Oh my God. And that is a performance, and that is really expensive, and it takes up a lot of time. So what I do now is I work with someone who's she's a local friend, but she's also trying to start her photography business. And I said to her, I don't want you to spend a whole lot of time editing, which I know is really hard for photographers. I want candid photographs of me, but I want good ones. And I'm going to do my own makeup, and I'm going to come with my hair the way my hair is when it gets up in the morning. And I just want you to snap for an hour. And then I want to get out of that about 60 to 100 photos. I'll bring 5 to 10 different outfits, and we'll change. And we'll do them in different locations. And we book that once a quarter. My photographer charges me $300 for that. I've told her she needs to put her price up, but find someone like that, someone who's starting to build their portfolio, a student who will come and snap photos of you, your team, your product, you guys delivering your service, so that you get 60 to 100 new images every quarter. It's been a bit hit and miss since COVID, to be fair, but that is a game changer. For us at The Rock, we don't do that purely because we have a GoPro on board, and so we're always taking photos and videos. But for those of you that are looking at this and going, oh my God, Sarah has a lot of content, I do, because I'm really deliberate about using my time to do it as fast as possible.
Yeah.
And I've tried to get my husband to take photos and take videos, but he's rubbish. So we're not doing that anymore. And that just causes arguments. So
Yes.
we get someone else to come and do it. Makes it easy. Takes us a couple of hours. Takes her, I don't know how long it takes her to edit. I've told her not to edit too much, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And I get great results. My photos are awesome. They're all in different locations, and it gives Brie something to work with.
Yes. If you were going to spend some money on something for marketing, I always say that's the best place to start, even before you really outsource to a social media manager, because if you don't have any photos, then I have to use stock photos. And it's just obvious, when you use stock photos, unfortunately, a lot of the time, like from a place like Unsplash or something like that, where they're free stock photos. And I don't mind if I have to go to Unsplash to supplement, even if you only had, like, let's say 10 photos. Also, I had a client who, through COVID, like she's really suffering, because I do marketing coaching as well. So she's really suffering, no money at all. So her friend just went out and they just took some photos on the phone. And to be honest, these photos were not great. But I can assure you that editing goes a long way. So one of the apps that I use is Adobe Lightroom, and it's a free app on your phone. And by just putting the two filters that I really love on there is black and white flat and matte. And honestly, just with those two filters, they just elevate somehow the photo, and then you can sort of crop to make it look good. So, even if you're not at the place where you can even get a cheap photographer, just something, doing something and putting a filter over it can really do a lot of work for you.
I think it's really awesome. And I didn't say at the start, because Brie and I will just keep talking about social media and how to do it. She'll keep talking about social media, and I'll keep talking about all the ways we do it fast, and it doesn't take up a lot of time. So just jump in with your questions. Feel free to unmute yourself. Verity's just asked, beyond photos of ourselves, what sort of photos do you suggest getting taken for a service business that doesn't have any products? It's a really good question, because it's something I struggled with for ages. I'm sick of the side of my face.
Yes. So definitely get a friend to come with you on the photo shoot to pretend to be a client. That's what I did in a lot of my photos. But also photos that are like pointing here, pointing there, so that you can sort of put little things on there, like your quotes or things that you want to point to. Those things. Also, like if you, depending on what your service is, of course, those photos of looking over top with your hands on the keyboard or writing or things like that. Like, yeah, it really depends on what the service is, because if it's like, what is the business or the service you provide?
Turn myself off instead of on. So we have a thought leadership agency. So we work with people to take their thinking further and then create longer form content. So yeah, we've often done like the hands on the keyboard and stuff like that. But yeah, you kind of get stuck after a while of what to do.
Yeah, you do, absolutely. So just having people brainstorming, thinking, but then you have to be really careful that they don't start to look like those cheesy stock photos where they're like, high five. But if you were to do something like a workshop or something, having somebody come in to take candid photos of you doing that is really great. So you look a lot more natural as well. Just anything to show you in the process with a client, but then also for sure having a lot of emotion in your faces as well, because we do the typical corporate portrait, but that's like what else, right? Like give me a like personality, kind of thing, and that'll go a long way as well.
Awesome, great question. So the other thing that is, I think, that's useful to think about is what other content have you posted? And I know the one that always gets me is the frequently asked questions. So thinking about what are some of the things that people ask all the time, or that you end up talking about all the time because of where your clients are at, and trying to kind of get those photos, those sorts of things, like, so for example, for me, I talk about using a food service or using a cleaner or outsourcing your laundry, or because for me it's not just in our business about what's a problem, it's our whole life's too busy. And so taking out those things we don't love doing and outsourcing those in some way, shape or form, could be just to your children, I'm okay with that, but the photos of that stuff is something where I could go. I imagine, Verity, you've probably got clients' books, you've probably got that sort of conversation that you could have. So thinking about how do you make me a thought leader? Like, what are some things that you do with me to make that happen? Like, do I write a book? Do I do PR appearances? What are the things that you do with me? So what are the questions a potential client or a client's going to ask to say, how does that work? For those of you with products, how does that work? For those of you with experiences like us or accommodation, it's like, where are you? How do I get there? Where do I park? What does your office look like? All those questions, people have those questions. How can you answer that in a photo or a video?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So batching the images, batching the videos is the other one that we've talked about. Like when you do your reels and if you're not following Brie, you should be. I will share all her links after this so that you can. She makes hilarious reels. She's born for the stage. You should be following her. She's hilariously funny. Do you do those in the moment or do you batch those too?
Okay, so reels is honestly the easiest content to create. So what I do is I, peruse reels, like maybe at nighttime after the kids have gone to bed. And if something's like, oh, I could do that, but change this about it, I'll save the audio. So if you click on the audio of a reel, it will take you to the page with the audio, and at the top it says save audio. So you save it, and you just keep going through. Oh, I like that. That's funny. I could tweak it this way. Save audio. So now you've got a bunch of different audios there. Let's say there's 10 audios. And then you say, okay, I'm going to schedule and do reels this hour, right? Because Sarah's all about scheduling in your week.
So when you go and do it,
yeah.
If I talk, hopefully the camera will come to me, but if you go and this is where you go and hit the plus button in Instagram, and then where you hit on the audio up here, all your saved ones are under that little banner at the top that says save. Sarah's got hundreds that she's saved and never done anything with.
Yes. So now what you do is when you actually go to create the reels, do not get stuck watching them, because you'll get stuck in that hole. You just go there, you click audio, and you get creating. So you click on there, you go to your saved audio. I always play it to listen to what it is, remind myself of what that idea was, and then I use that and I film the reel. Now I go, I think it's like next or preview. And instead of publishing, you go save to draft. And now I batch, like the other day, I got a little carried away. I did about 20. So, and then you just go to the next one, create new reel, go to the saved audios, remind yourself of the idea, create it. You can even add the text and everything that you want to it, preview, save to draft. Now, if you want, so now when you're ready to actually go and post a reel, all you have to do is create new reel, and then you just click on the bottom left where it allows you to add a video or a picture or something. And then you can toggle over between gallery and drafts. And you just pick up the draft. Everything is saved there. The audio, the text, your video, everything is saved perfectly. You just use that, click preview. You can copy and paste a caption or type a caption there, and then you post it. So in 1 hour, you could get all of your reels created, and now you have for the month, and now every day, even if you wanted to, I mean, that might be crazy, but even if we did 10 every couple of days, you could post a reel and it's all there. Some people do like the outfit changes and stuff, but I ain't got time for that. Okay, I do the same t-shirt, nobody cares. So I do 20 of the reels in my same clothes, and yeah, that's what you get for the next month is me in the same t-shirt. But some people do have the outfit changes, which is totally fine as well. And the biggest thing that I did when I started doing reels was I started trying to do like all the transition ones, and had a bit of a cry after an hour trying to edit it. So just start off simple with like a one that's got a boom, boom, boom. So you can like point, yeah, with your little ideas, or do the lip syncing thing, like just start off easy.
Yeah, top tip, if you're going to lip sync, change it to ×2 on the left-hand side when you're recording. That'll slow it down to half the speed, and so then you'll be able to lip sync with it, and then it will work. Because
yes,
I can't lip sync to save myself. But that was my top tip for that one. I don't know how I discovered that. So there's some cool little functions in there. The way that they get it, people get all these amazing things happening, is they have align functions, and they have, so use the tools that are there for you if you're going to go down that track. Scarlett and I did it. She's been nagging me for doing reels for ages, and I think we did 30 reels. It took us 2 hours.
Wow.
We were doing the clothing changes and all that sort of stuff. Took us 2 hours. We got 30 reels. We just loaded them all up, and then I posted them out, not really thinking too much of it. Scarlett gets way more views than me. So it's about double the views I get. But Brie said to me when she printed off the reports and sent them through, was it end of July that I did that?
Yes, it would have been last month.
And literally my reach and engagement and the number of people that saw my stuff, whether they were ultimately going to be the right people or not, is still up for a debate, but went through the roof without really too much effort. Like I can handle a couple of hours, and then I would just jump in first thing in the morning after I'd done my workout. My first job would be post a reel. And you can write the content all in advance and save it. When you save the draft, it's all sitting there, and I would just make sure it posted correctly, and that was it, and off it went. And so that was the way that we did that. I have yet to do another batch of reels. We've been really slack, but it's on the agenda for this weekend, hopefully. So really be deliberate about doing it all at once.
Yeah.
If you try and do a reel a day, a story a day, a post a day, you'll do nothing but do social media. And that's okay if that's your whole jam. But for most of you, you're running a business. It's not what you've got time to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are some other cool things that you and I use, or that you use, that make life faster? So we've talked about a scheduling tool, because I think the thing that people forget in 2021 is that you can pay kind of $20-$30 for a software for a month, and it just saves you so much time with this stuff. What is it, some of the stuff that you're using that isn't a crazy expensive, that potentially these guys can all use?
Okay. Well, I think the only paid tools that I really use are the scheduling software and Canva. I have paid for Canva because I can keep the brand kit in there. So having your colors and fonts just ready to go whenever you're creating something saves time. It's worth $30 or however much it is. And then the other apps that I use are the Adobe Lightroom app. I use that all the time. So if you go onto the Rock Adventure Cruise, it's at Rock the Boat NZ on Instagram, you'll notice that all the photos have a similar color tinge to them. So I put a filter on them so that they all have this cohesiveness to them, and it just, without really noticing, it can kind of bring a mood that we want people to capture. And whenever they see a photo, without even seeing the name, they notice us. So that's what using a filter does. And I use that with Adobe Lightroom for free on the mobile. For video editing, I use InShot, which is another app, and that's also free. Of course, you can get a paid version, but I use InShot. You can put music over top of it and stuff like that. I would say those are the things that I use all the time. Now, when it comes to creating Sarah's content, we've just started using Otter, which, well, like she's been using it for months, but I now have access to things when she does like Q&As, or like when she does a video, it transcribes what she's saying so that I can go in and just look for something really valuable. And she doesn't have to tell me what she wants to talk about. Like usually we have a meeting every couple of months where she says, okay, these are the things that I want to focus on. But they're usually always the same, like book a strategy call or whatever. So then I just need to go in and sort of find things that align with what the messages that we're trying to talk about or promote really strongly on social media within all of her transcribed text. And so that's really helpful because I don't have to wait on Sarah to send me content. I can just create it and then get her to approve it. And then post it. So that saves us a ton of time.
Otter doesn't cope well with the Kiwi accent. Yeah, it's getting better. It is getting better. But yeah, I always have the recording there as well as the transcript, so that if Brie's like, what did she say? She can actually listen to what I said, and she's used to my Kiwi accent, so that's okay. So yeah, no, they certainly have trouble. Some of these transcription services, like I notice in Facebook with the captions, like we say all sorts of strange things, but you can go in and edit that. So I just update it. So if I was using it, so it's another way that we can write a whole lot of written. Katy Perry. Yeah, exactly, Kate. Like it doesn't do well with Māori either. It doesn't transcribe any of that. You have to go in and manually change that. So we use it. Otter gives not only the ideas for Brie, but I can then pull it out, and it can be my blog post as well. So I can go, we're going to post that on my website and on LinkedIn articles, which I've been really slack on, and on Medium, though it can start to go on those places as well, because clearly I can talk a lot, and that's way faster than me typing or writing. The other thing I use is my Remarkable. So I handwrite my content because I'm faster at that. And then that gets translated into text as well to speed it up. But it's not going to give you a finished product, but it's going to give you a framework to start with. And then you're going to have to edit it for spelling and grammar and all those sorts of things as well. So yeah, so that's one of the things.
I think the other thing I wanted to mention was Veed, VEED.io, and it automatically transcribes the subtitles, and then you can change the words if needed, if it doesn't pick up on the accent correctly, and then export it. And that's one of the best subtitling software that I've found. And I believe you can use it for free if you do a certain amount of videos per month. And you can add things like the progression bar at the bottom that kind of goes along until the video is finished and stuff. So there's a lot of cool things with that. But yeah, I've tried to find a lot of other subtitling one. I think the other one that you use is Headliner. Is that right? Or
yeah. So I've used Headliner. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now a lot of my stuff is just subtitled in Facebook or in YouTube. I think what I do from memory is I subtitle it in Facebook, and then I just pull the file out for YouTube. And it's been a while since I've had to do it, but for YouTube and Instagram and stuff, I pull the file in that way. Yeah. So that's cool. I think the one thing I would say is one piece of content isn't one piece of content. So one video for me turns into 10, 15, 20 pieces of content. So if I was doing this on my own, if I didn't have amazing Brie to help me out, here's what I would do. I would take my phone, I would stick it up, and I would talk to camera about each one of my topics, which would give me a video. I would then use Otter to transcribe all those videos. I would take the whole piece, if it was 300 words or more, and make it a blog, I would then take 300-word bits out of it and make those my short posts. I would then attach either a snippet of the video or one of my photos to that. And then I would post it everywhere. So not only do I use this on my social, I use it on my blog, I use it on my website. I use it when people ask me to write things. I used that way to write my book. It was all written, me being interviewed by someone and just recorded and transcribed. Lead magnets, same thing. So don't ever use one piece of content if you're doing this yourself for one piece of content. And I know I do a lot of talking. So pick what you're good at. If you're good at talking like I am to camera, just do that. And then batch out of that. If you're good at writing, batch out of your written word. Don't do something, you don't have to do something that's not comfortable to you.
Yeah.
You know, your videos don't have to be really long. Like they can be 30 seconds and they're still valuable.
Yeah. And I think one thing that I would love to, as we're coming to end, like I think that there's so much on social media, there can be so much pressure from marketers who say you have to post every day, you have to post at the right times, you have to do reels every day, you have to, and it's just like, holy cow. Like, remember that as a marketer, my sole job is to do marketing 8 hours a day. And you know, sometimes it just feels like when they're doing, like you'll see on Instagram, the 30-day reel challenge, and they've posted a reel every day and now they have 100,000 followers. If you don't get that, that's okay. Like, we don't have to be social media rock stars, marketing rock stars. We just have to be, what is it that Sarah says, a little less shit than we were yesterday?
Yeah, 1% better than yesterday. If we want to be PC about it, or if I'm not being PC about it, you just need to be less shit than you were yesterday. And you just have to be less shit than the competition. And that's for most of us in small business, your competition aren't doing this because it's too hard.
Yeah.
They don't want to put their face on it. They don't want to do this. They don't want to do that. Like, it's crazy the amount of businesses I go into and I'm like, what do you mean you don't have a Facebook page? What do you mean you're not on Google My Business? Like, it is not hard to be better than the competition.
Yeah.
And it's not hard to be less shit than you were yesterday if you're posting nothing at the moment.
Yes.
And I think the other thing I say is start one thing. Build a system around it so you're consistently doing it. Like I had, before Brie came along, we had a really solid system for creating, scheduling and posting all of our posts on both The Rock and Sarah Greener. Back then I had 5 businesses. We had the restaurants as well. We had really good systems around it so that it didn't take a lot of time. So pick one, build a really solid system around it. And then for a lot of you, you're going to be like, hang on, why don't I post it on Facebook? I can just post on Instagram. Because that's the other thing marketers say. You need to write for the different audience on Facebook, on Instagram, and on LinkedIn. Dude, I'm the same person on all 3. Mm-hmm. I don't need to see something different. Maybe you might use prettier photos on Instagram, but I've gone past that now. And I'm just like, what you see is what you get. Like I don't wear a filter in real life.
Yeah.
So I started off using filters all the time and I've actually taken them off now. I'm just like, unless I'm really, really feeling rough, like this is me.
Yeah.
That's what you get when you meet with me. This is what you get on the Zoom calls. So
Yeah, absolutely. That's another thing too, is there's lots of different thoughts around whether you should post the same thing on the same day across the different platforms.
No, I certainly wouldn't advocate that one. I think that feels like someone's shouting at you, but mixing it up and scheduling.
But you can just use the same post on a different day on a different platform, but you don't have to recreate it, you know.
Yeah. Look, if you had a whole marketing team, I would expect that you had an Instagram strategy and the way that you were writing that stuff and a Facebook strategy, but none of you do. If you're in my world, you do not have a big, massive marketing team. It's probably you doing it.
Yeah.
So be realistic about what you can do. Pick one, get really good at being consistent and creating regularly, and then have a look at that and go, can I repurpose that and use that for the other platforms? And you'll be away really quickly.
I just ask a sort of related question. So I now have 3 centers. So I tend to and it's really good because the two centres I've just bought, they were basically doing no, like I looked at their Facebook posts, and up until lockdown, there was nothing happening on their Facebook pages. I think the last posts were from July last year. So it's great because I feel really old listening to the stuff that you're saying, because I'm like, Facebook is as far as I get, and Reels. I'm just like, oh my God. Anyway, talking about posting across places, is it okay to post the same thing on the 3 Facebook pages, like on the same day, or should I be trying to stagger that stuff as well?
So what's the business, sorry? What?
They're early childhood centres.
Are they in completely different locations?
Yes, pretty much. There are 2 that are 5 minutes apart, but they're in different socioeconomic areas, so they've got a slightly different target market.
Yeah. I probably wouldn't worry too much about posting if you're posting it on the same day in the different centers, because it's probable that the audience from one of the centers isn't following your other social channels for the other centers. Yeah. So if it's easier for you, then I would just post it on the same day, and maybe just switch up just a little bit of the caption to make it more personal to each of the centers and to the audience. But yeah, I wouldn't worry about staggering that one. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good question. Really good question. And I think that's that you can use it in more than one place, which makes it easier for you.
Yeah.
Anyone else got any questions? I'm sort of watching the Facebook groups. It's hard. If I'm not tagged in them, I don't get a notification for it. I'm trying to think of what are some of the other things that we do to make it really easy. I think we think about what's going on in terms of the calendar. So because we're looking forward a long way, like what's happening in terms of seasons, what's happening in terms of days that maybe are relative to you. So on the boat, obviously anything to do with marine or marine environment, or bringing back the birds in New Zealand, or anything New Zealand related probably. So New Zealand Music Month and that sort of stuff is all relevant. Yeah. Topical stuff that we can bring. I think the other thing that we do a little bit, I certainly do a little bit inside the groups, is kind of get a rhythm to what am I talking about. So on Monday, am I being motivational? And on Tuesday, am I giving a tip? And on Wednesday, it's kind of something just fun. And on Friday, I always ask people if they want access to something. Yeah. Generally. So like what I kind of get a rhythm and a calendar to it. Like I talk about having themes for your days for work. This is themes for your days for what are you posting.
Yeah, I think that's great. Anything that can make it more like streamlined for you and getting you in the rhythm and the habit, I think is great. Like, yeah, go for it. The only thing I would say is don't get in the habit of being like, oh, it's Motivation Monday, so I'm just going to put up a quote, and like totally chicken out of actually putting up valuable content. What did you say? Oh, yes, with the calendar. Often what happens is we think of a sale or something we'll be like, oh, we should have a sale this weekend, or we should do a promo for school holidays. So what I would suggest that you guys do is once a year, like sit down at a calendar and figure out what are the promotional periods that you need to be aware of, or things that happen on an annual basis that are relevant to your business that you need to talk about. You can literally create those posts and schedule them out a year in advance. But if you have an idea of like, oh, the school holidays are coming up, so instead of, like, for example, with The Rock, like we don't just post on the beginning of school holidays, oh, we have a school holiday deal. We're actually the month out while people are planning their school holidays, talking about the deals and, oh, this is the ultimate family adventure and you've got to come to do this, right? So we're nurturing them so that when it's time to book, or when the school holidays actually happen, we're already booked with those people ready to come. So don't do anything like that off the cuff.
Awesome. Cheers, Verity. Yeah, and I think like a perfect example happened today. So Johnny's Rad Dad box turned up today from the meat box, and they they plan to do that every year. It sells out from them every year, and they start selling them about a month out. And I think within 10 days or something, they sell those boxes out every year. But that's a concept where they've thought about it and go from there. How do service providers interact with holidays? We go on holiday, Ruth. I think just engaging and thinking about, like, from your point of view, what value can you add around those days, right? So you're doing copywriting. So, you'd be saying to your people, have you thought about adjusting your copy for, allowing for people coming up to Christmas? Like, I'm not selling stuff coming into Christmas because nobody wants to think about engaging a business coach right before Christmas. They want to think about having a holiday. However, I do want to be talking about what does your new year look like, right? So that's a selling point, because people are going, oh my God, 2021 didn't play out how I wanted. How does 2022 look? So you can start to have those conversations that are relative to the time of the year. Mother's Day. I mean, this is where the human connection stuff that Brie's talking about come in, like Mother's Day or Father's Day. Like, I'm a mum, I have a husband who happens to be a dad, like, let's talk about the people behind the business at that point. You'll often end up with a not scheduled post on Father's Day and Mother's Day from Johnny and I, because I'll post what we're doing as a family for Dad's Day and talk about Johnny and post that on the Rock. We post it personally, but then we would post it on the Rock site, because that's an insight to who we are behind the scenes. So that's, that's not scheduled, but that is definitely, because obviously I can't tell you, because I haven't really thought until today about what I might do for Father's Day, but but yeah, those sorts of things, especially given it's got to come from an essential service. Very cool. Anyone else got any other questions for Brie? Those are great questions. No, silence.
I'd love to know what you struggle with the most when it comes to social media as well. What are those things that are really hard for you to get over or to do?
Okay, so my struggle, which I talked a wee bit about yesterday, is because I'm not really providing the service, I struggle with being the face of the business, and also, like, and I'm quite private. My husband doesn't even have a Facebook page. He does nothing on social media. So we're quite a private sort of family, and so I do struggle with how much to share, and whether it should be me or whether it should be the service, what's happening in the centres. So that's that's my biggest struggle.
I've actually worked with a couple of early childhood centers, and what we've got is, you get your stock, like you get a photographer to come in so that you have photos you can use all the time. You make sure that those kids have the permission and everything, and you just know that those photos are ready to go. But then you try and find one or two staff that's actually happy to, get on an Instagram story or do a video or something, and then schedule with them. Okay, on Tuesdays at 10 o'clock, Sarah's got to go, or Kelly's got to go and do, an Instagram live or something, so that they're seeing the faces of the center, and it's actually just within their daily tasks to create that content and get on there. And then from your perspective, you're taking care of all the, the day-to-day type posts, but they're adding that human element by getting their face on there, even if it's just once or twice a week.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be your face, right? Like our crew on the boat, we've had crew that are comfortable on the screen and crew that are not. And the crew that are not comfortable on the screen, we just hear their voice. So they will go, oh, it's a beautiful sunset tonight. Just want to show you we were anchored up for the evening. They would take those snippets without showing them, and that's okay. And we're the same. I guess we start to think about, how do we do this without always being us? Like on the Rock, most of it's for sale because of Johnny's health condition. So there's we're starting to build this, who else can be the faces of it and not just us all the time. So we're conscious of thinking about whatever we're putting out there could be anyone, not just Sarah and Johnny and Scarlett. So those sorts of things. And I love what Brie said, but Brie's been a client of mine as well as I'm a client of hers for a little while. So it's part of the daily tasks. Like they do this as part of the daily ritual of running your business. So they don't even have to think about it.
Yeah.
So it's post a photo of the sandpit one day, and then the next day it's the water play, and the next day, like, it doesn't even have to have any kids in it. People are good, but just a photo of what's going on is really good place to start.
Yeah. And I suppose like with photos, like the staff are always taking photos because they're using them and learning stories. So I can repurpose those sorts of things.
Totally.
And you can just crop things, right? Like, so like, there's time, like when I take photos of like Zoom calls and stuff like this, if it's in a client meeting, if I think anyone's identifiable, I put like an emoji over their faces and use that. Or if there are people that don't talk about publicly about working with me, I've got some clients who do and some clients who don't. So I do that. You could do a similar thing. I've seen people have fun cropping the photos in different ways so that you're not showing kids' faces, but you can see their hands getting into the mud or into the sand. Like as a parent, I am not an arts and craft parent. So if you show me the mess after arts and craft and the outcome and how like what the kids made, and go, so you don't have, we do this at Gumdrops, so you don't have to do it at home. Like that's my jam. I'm like, you're my people. You totally get me. Like that's a big mess. I don't want to do that stuff.
I was the same as a parent. My children at home wanted scissors. No, that's why you go to Gumdrops. You go to Gumdrops to use scissors. Okay.
Yeah, and to bake, and I mean, I do a bit more of it now. Scarlett's a bit older, but when she was small, like that makes a big mess. So doing that, so what are the pain?
Wait till she's a teenager.
I'm
even messier.
No, I'm kidding. I don't know yet. But so those things you can kind of have playfulness with it, but having that regular task that means you have to do it, that you've got a system and process.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at my success map, and it's got social media posts as a system. So that's a system that, that's good. Cool.
And I bang on about this all the time, and Brie knows it, and Brie has them in her business. That's why she can bang out a whole lot of posts and content for everyone. She has good systems for creating it. If she does it ad hoc, it'd be a disaster. She'd end up as overwhelmed as we are.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I have a system. I just think I need to up the system, because my system at the moment is posting 3 times a week on Facebook. And so, I'm comfortable with that now. And that's no videos or anything. But so I just,
And you've got to duplicate that across 2 more centres now.
Yes.
So recognise that and make that work. And then that's what I said, layers upon layers, like simple signs of permission slip for ninja. Everyone comes in and goes, I want to be a ninja. I'm going to do reels and I'm going to do stories and I'm going to friggin' just do simple. Just post photos with the caption. And then when you've got that, then go to the next level. If you're really awesome at making reels and you've got a whole lot of creative ideas bursting out of your head like Brie does, go and do reels. But if you don't, build it just simple signs of permission slip for ninja. You can go and be ninja later. And some of you never ever need to get to ninja. Just post content and a photo, done. So I think it's why I love working with Brie, is because she recognizes that market is just market. And so she acknowledges that what she can do is way more than what you guys can do running all your businesses, because her product, her service is marketing. So she needs to be doing that all the time. You've got to go and educate some young children. Like that's your primary service, not making reels.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
No worries. Brie. What else have you got? Anything else?
I don't think so.
Cool.
I think I've given you all my secrets.
Cool. Brie's in the group as well. So if you've got any questions, if you guys are watching the replay, because I know some people have said, hey, can't make the Zoom, but I will watch the replay. Jump in, pop some questions in the comments in the Human Centered Business, and Brie will If I can't answer them, I will reach out to Brie and she can answer them because she's in the group too.
I just saw one question from Kirsty there that says she's struggling with content to put on social media as she has a very specific service. And that's actually fantastic. If you, the more specific you can get is great, because when you're talking to everyone, you're talking to no one. But when you have this specific thing that you offer and you know the pain points of your target market so deeply, that's actually really exciting because your content is so pinpointed to the specific target market and service that you offer. Like in my business right now, I'm really pushing hard on online experiences, like I said before, and that's a very specific target market. That's a tourism operator who needs to go online, and I'm not worried that it's not for everyone. And I lose followers every day. That's great because they are never going to buy from me. But I'm gaining people who need exactly what I have, because there's only a very specific person who needs to create an Airbnb online experience or learn how to do social media for their tourism operation. So don't be worried that what you are saying is specific. It will find the right people, and you don't have to have 100,000 followers. You don't even have to have 1,000 followers. You just have to have the people who are there for you and what you offer.
I think that's really important. Like, I think about if I had to put 1,000 people in my office, which is my spare bedroom post-COVID, like they wouldn't fit. I couldn't help them all or add value. Like, you've got to kind of think about relatively what do you need for your business. I don't need 10,000 or 100,000 or 1 million followers because I don't need that many clients.
Yeah.
So it's cool. I'm assuming that's Kirsty from Convey Legal. Well, I'm not sure which Kirsty it is. I got the right Kirsty. I'm assuming, and so she's talking to first home buyers, and so she's got a really cool, really clear call to pain point in New Zealand as well at the moment. Like, the housing crisis is ridiculous. So you've got some really good content that you can create around that. Yeah. You're shaking your head while your video wasn't on. That's all good. So thinking about that, like, you can actually get really detailed. I mean, talk to anyone that's tried to buy a house in the last 3 or 4 years and is still not in the market. Like, they trying to navigate home, it's KiwiSaver and is it Kiwi grants? I don't know what they call them, extra money that the government gives you, Homestart grants, and getting that money out, and friggin' how do I even decide what sort of house I want, and how do I know how much I can afford, and who helps me with all of that, and what information does the bank want, and do I have enough, and can I service it, and blah, 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 blah. There's all these questions, and you don't even have to answer them all. You can do what I'm doing here. I don't have to answer all the social questions. Brie can come here and answer them for me, so you can reach out to your network and sort of have those conversations. They don't have to be hour long like this. Just stick a video up and grab 3 minutes of you asking those specific questions to your support network, and there's your content. It doesn't even have to be you on the camera, which is awesome.
Yes, that's
good. Really good content. It's a great question. I think the fact that you know exactly who you're talking to, Kirsty, and all of you should know exactly who you're talking to, but the fact that you've got something really specific is helpful. Who is my person? When you're trying to talk to everyone, it's impossible.
Yeah.
I could write a page out of the diary of my ideal client, and I want you guys to be there too. Like, who are they? What do they do? What do they think about? What keeps them up at night? What are they looking for? What adds value? You need to know that, so that when you're talking to them in your posts or in your ads, you're talking directly to that person. That's what's so important. Because if you don't understand who it is, you're never going to reach them, resonate with them.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right. Well, I want to be respectful of Brie's time because I know she's homeschooling 3 small people. In her house, plus she's got a business to run. So thank you so much for coming along. So anyone who's in the tourism game and is thinking about virtual tours, Brie is absolutely your person. In fact, we should jump on and do a live about the virtual tour things. I think it's been a bit of a long road to get to where we're at, but we're actually seeing some traction. We're actually making some income off it, which is really exciting. Especially when you're sitting in your house in lockdown. So we might do a live about that. But if you're in the tourism game, you're looking for some support, Brie's definitely your gal. And for those of the rest of you, she's a great resource. She's always happy to help out. She's always happy to answer questions. And I know she does do some one-to-one coaching with business owners. So if you're literally like, I just need some help to get started, or I just want like a content calendar, I want someone to kind of help me with the ideas, Brie's your gal. She's got some resources there for you and she can help you out. So reach out to me and I can introduce you in a three-way Facebook Messenger conversation or via email, whatever works for you. So thank you so much, Brie. Really appreciate it.
Thank you guys. It was so much fun. It was like a good, like, you know, when you get stuck in COVID in your house and you kind of feel a bit meh, but this was like good. So thank you.
Yeah, it's good, connecting with other people, even if it is just like, this is like, hello, other people that aren't my family.
Yes, exactly.
So cool. All right, team, take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful rest of your Friday, and I will probably see some of you next week. So take care. Bye.
Bye.